Hey guys, what's good? Welcome back to JDB Selects, coming at you today with another predicted teams list for round 1. This time last year's grand finalists and runners-up, the Brisbane Broncos. But before we get into the video, if you are new here and you aren't subscribed, what are you doing? Do me a favor, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know your predicted teams list in the comments below. Now, before we look forward to the 2024 season, it is always good to look back on the previous year. And so the Broncos had a pretty outstanding year, to be fair. Obviously, finished second. They didn't quite nab the minor premiership, choosing to rest players in the last round. But still, nonetheless, second place finish. Great result for the Broncos considering where they'd been in previous years. A 75% win rate and a positive points difference of 214. Now, obviously, they did blow it in the grand final, and I was very lucky enough to be there for that live in person. Arguably the greatest game of rugby league of all time, or at least grand final-wise. Anyway, I may be biased again because I was there, but man, what a game, what a performance from some of the Broncos players, and obviously the Iceman Nathan Cleary doing what he does best to break Broncos and Brisbane fans' hearts. Anyway, moving forward to 2024, the Broncos have two new signings in the form of Fletcher from the Roosters and Jaiyden Hunt from the Dragons. Two big bodies that will fill some of the gaps left, I guess, by Flegler. Both players sort of play that interchange role at their previous clubs, and I think that will be a similar position that they'll play when they join the Broncos. And the big one for the Broncos is their losses. So they've lost Kurt Capewell to the Warriors, a massive loss for the Broncos. Herbie Farnworth, arguably the best centre in the comp, also moving on to the Dolphins. Alongside him too, Thomas Flegler joining the opposite side of the Battle of Brisbane, so that's just going to bring so much more venom and feeling to those Battle of Brisbane clashes next year. I can't wait for that. And Keenan Palacia is also moving on to the Gold Coast Titans. So a few big losses for the Broncos with not really too much gained. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out and how much of an effect losing those three key players has on the Broncos this year. Alright, let's break down my teams list for round 1, starting first at fullback. Obviously, Reece, Walsh, Reece Lightning. Man, Walsh had a great first year at the Broncos. I always have a wee bit of a soft spot for Walsh as he did play for the Warriors. We gave him his debut and things like that, so, you know, he's a joy to watch, and even better when he's playing for your team. But man, Walsh was electric last year. 9 tries, 26 try assists in 22 games, which is phenomenal. 127 tackle breaks. He obviously had his Origin debut too, and man, he killed that. Didn't put a foot out of place. The only, I guess, slight knock you could have on Reece is that he didn't have the best game in the grand final. I wouldn't say he necessarily had a bad game, but man, they needed him. He didn't quite step up to ice that game out, and he wasn't the only one though, so don't get me wrong. Walsh is electric, arguably the most exciting player in the game right now, and he's still so young, man. He's going to be around for years and years to come, and you know, working with Billy Slater and the likes, he's only going to get better, man. So looking forward to seeing Reece in 2024. And starting on the wing, I've gotten Jesse Arthars. I mean, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best players on the ground for the Broncos in that grand final. Got through a ton of work, real solid winger. 9 tries in 20 games, 41 tackle breaks and 1 try assist. The dude's got a lot of untapped potential. He also spent some time with the Warriors, so again, a wee bit of a soft spot for me for Jesse Arthars, but definitely deserving of that number 2 jersey come round 1. Moving now to the number 3 jersey, I've gone Kotoni Staggs in the centres. Kotoni had 13 tries in 26 games, averaging 117 run meters with 92 tackle breaks. Kotoni's one of those guys, right? It's rocks or diamonds with him. He'll either have an absolutely outstanding game, and you'll be talking about how he's one of the best centers in the comp, and then the next week he'll go ghost and go missing for a few weeks. So really good player on his day, just needs to find a bit of consistency, but you can always guarantee he's going to give 100% and run hard. Standout for me though last year was obviously him scoring that runaway try in the Battle of Brisbane and doing the My House thing in the corner. I mean, man, that's going to go down in rugby league folklore for years to come. It'll be played on all of the promos for every Battle of Brisbane from until the end of time. So yeah, looking forward to seeing Kotoni get stuck in next year. Moving now to the other centre, I've gone Deine Mariner. I know a lot of people probably or maybe expecting Cobbo to play centre next year. Obviously Mariner only played 4 games last year. I think he's only played 6 games in his career so far. But man, you look at some of those stats in 4 games, right? 5 tries, 3 try assists, 16 tackle breaks, averaging 134 meters in just 4 games. That's phenomenal stats. And he obviously did play wing during those games. But for me, I would like to see him start at centre. I think Cobbo is too good on the wing to move in. But again, having depth is not a bad thing, right? So if they need to make a change or they want to try something new with Cobbo, I wouldn't be mad seeing him in the centres, but I think he's done enough to retain that number 5 jersey, and Mariner can get a good crack at centre and play a similar role to what Herbie played for the Broncos last year. And as I just touched on the other wing, Selwyn Cobbo, the dude is an absolute specimen. 20 tries in 24 games, 111 tackle breaks for 147 metres per game. Absolute weapon. That try he scored where he chipped and chased and got the ball back against the Dolphins, again, absolutely classic. Only a special player could pull something like that off. Again, I think he is a winger. I think he's good in the air. He carries the ball back hard. He makes good meters. I would like to see him retain that jersey come round 1, but obviously a switch with Mariner to centre and vice versa isn't a bad shout should they need to. And in at 5'8", the grand final hat-trick scorer, Ezra. The dude is arguably the best 5'8" in the game. His speed is like no one else, and it matches perfectly with Walsh. They both just swing around left to right and pop up when you least expect them. It's so good to watch. Even as a non-Broncos fan, like, I will always tune in to watch Walsh and Mam cut defenses apart. He's just signed on. I believe he has just signed on for another 3 years with the Broncos, so he'll be there at least until the end of 2026. Man, super exciting player to watch, and he's only going to get better. I think similar to Walsh, he's in his early 20s, if that. So such an exciting player to watch, and I have no doubt that following that heartbreaking loss in the grand final, that he's going to come back bigger, better, and stronger in 2024. And at halfback, obviously Adam Reynolds. Man, he had a great year last year. He was so important to the Broncos' success. He's the perfect, yin to the Broncos yang, right? You've got all that young, youthful, inexperienced speed, silliness from the likes of Walsh, Mam, and then you've got Reynolds on the other side, just keeping it calm, doing the little things right, playing field position, playing time, settling them all down when he needs to. I mean, he is so important to their success. He keeps them grounded. Hopefully he can replicate that 2023 form next year. I think it was a record year for his try assists, the most meters he's ever kicked in a season. Great win percentage, up in the 80%. I mean, so important to the Broncos' success. So, Reynolds in at 7. All right, moving now to the forward, starting with number 8, Payne Haas. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. There's just no words for what Payne Haas does week in and week out. 23 games, averaging 16 hit-ups per game for 187 meters. The dude is just on another planet. I mean, geez, I'm lost for words. I could sit here for half an hour and tell you all how good Payne Haas is, but you already know that. So, number 8, obviously, Payne Haas. All right, in at number 9, I've gone Billy Walters. The dude obviously isn't your top-tier hooker, but man, he does the little things really, really well. 6 tries in 26 games, 4 line break assists, and 2 try assists. Real workhorse, and again, probably an underrated part of the Broncos' success in 2023. And for the other prop, I've gone Cory Jensen. Obviously, with Big Thomas Flegler moving on, the Broncos will need to fill that starting prop role. I think Cory will slot in there perfectly. 21 games last year, yet to score a try, so he was on the nudie run last season, averaging 115 meters per game through 10 head-ups. Pretty good numbers. Obviously, given a crack on the starting side, he can probably bump those up a wee bit more. But for me, Cory Jensen should get the first crack at starting prop. And coming in at number 11, I've gone Jordan Riki. He had a great season for the Broncos last year. 91.8% tackle efficiency, although he did miss the mark a wee bit for that Cleary try in the grand final, but I'm sure we won't want to talk about that any longer. 7 tries in 22 games, a really, really solid second rower, and again, one of those youthful young players in the Broncos that has many years of football ahead of him and will only get better as time goes by. And again, another big change for the Broncos this season is Kurt Capewell has moved on, meaning they will need to fill their other back rower. I've gone Brendan Piakura. He only played 13 games for the Broncos last year, and I believe he was put on report 3 times in a single match, if my memory serves me correct. So he obviously has to sort some of that disciplinary issues out, but I've really enjoyed watching him play. He obviously plays with such passion and aggression, which is what you want from your back rowers. Again, one of those really, really young players in the Broncos side that has years and years ahead of him. So hopefully he'll get a lot more game time in 2024. Right, and coming in at number 13, the lock, Paddy Carrigan. Again, similar to Payne Haas, I don't need to sit here and tell you about Patrick Carrigan. 23 games, 2 tries, he finally broke the try drought, 54 tackle breaks, an astonishing 94.5% tackle efficiency. I mean, the dude is an absolute legend, real workhorse, and super important to the Broncos going back to the grand final in 2024. Bang, and just like that, we're done. Another video in the books. Thanks as always for watching. Let me know who your starting lineup is in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.